In the crucible of World War II, a remarkable discovery would alter the course of naval warfare. A moment when U.S. Navy technicians dismantled a captured Japanese Type 93 torpedo. This seemingly unassuming artifact unveiled capabilities that surpassed every Western weapon of its time, revealing the sophistication and innovation of Japan's military engineering. While some characters in this narrative are fictionalized for storytelling purposes, the events and findings are rooted in historical reality. Join us as we delve into the intricacies of this pivotal moment, exploring the implications for war strategies and military technology. Subscribe to our channel for exclusive access to meticulously researched narratives that bring history to life. With rare perspectives and insightful analyses, you'll gain a deeper understanding of pivotal moments that shaped our world. Enjoy regular uploads that keep you informed and engaged with the past, because understanding history is crucial for making sense of our present. Don't miss out. Join our community today. As the dust settled on the Pacific Theater in late 1945, the world braced itself for the dawn of a new military era, one that would be defined by technological advancements. Amid these developments, a significant event transpired at the U.S. Navy's research facilities, where a group of technicians meticulously worked to dismantle a Japanese Type 93 torpedo. Captured from a sunken submarine, this weapon would soon reveal its formidable design, prompting an urgent re-evaluation of naval warfare strategies. The Type 93, known as the Long Lance, was not merely a weapon. It symbolized the technological prowess of Imperial Japan and represented a challenge that the United States could not afford to ignore. The initial examination began with the careful peeling away of layers of metal and wires, revealing the intricate craftsmanship that had gone into its construction. Unlike American torpedoes, which often suffered from design flaws and malfunction, the Type 93 emerged as a marvel of engineering, boasting a range and speed that far exceeded its Western counterparts. Technicians noted the remarkable use of a unique propulsion system that employed pure oxygen instead of compressed air, allowing it to travel stealthily and at high speeds. This innovative approach rendered it nearly undetectable until it was too late for enemy ships. The implications of this discovery could not be overstated. It altered the perception of the Japanese military as a mere adversary, casting it as a legitimate technological rival. In the weeks that followed, as technicians continued their analysis, they uncovered additional layers of complexity within the torpedo's design. It was equipped with a magnetic influence exploder, a feature that enabled it to detonate upon proximity to an enemy ship, increasing its lethality. This detail revealed the foresight of Japanese engineers, who had anticipated the evolving nature of naval warfare. The discovery not only impressed the technicians, but also compelled military strategists to rethink their assumptions about surface combat. The Type 93's ability to engage targets from significant distances without detection exemplified the changing landscape of naval engagements, where stealth and precision would become paramount. Furthermore, the torpedo's outer casing, crafted from a lightweight yet durable alloy, inspired conversations among engineers about the materials used in weaponry. This ability to combine strength with efficiency reflected a philosophy that contrasted sharply with American designs, which often prioritized sheer firepower. As reports circulated within the Navy, a sense of urgency permeated discussions about the future of naval technology. The findings fueled a race to innovate, underscoring the necessity for the United States to advance its capabilities lest it fall behind a rival that had once seemed defeated. The Type 93 had inadvertently revived a competitive spirit that the United States had not anticipated in the aftermath of the war. Moreover, the technicians' findings did not merely hold tactical implications. They reverberated through the corridors of military strategy. top brass began to consider the implications of asymmetric warfare, recognizing that the Japanese had adapted their strategies and technologies in ways that challenged conventional wisdom. The U.S. Navy had dominated the seas, yet the Type 93 torpedo suggested vulnerabilities were lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be exploited. This realization served as a catalyst for re-evaluating how the United States would engage foes in future conflicts, whether they emerged in the Pacific or elsewhere. It was a lesson learned not through battle, but through meticulous examination of what had been left behind. As the days turned into weeks and the analysis deepened, the technicians faced a burgeoning sense of responsibility. Their work would not only inform future naval strategies, but also carry the weight of lives that would be affected by the decisions made in light of their findings. The symbolism of dismantling an enemy's weapon extended beyond mere technical evaluation. It became a reflection of resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. The United States was not merely recovering from a war, it was evolving, learning from those who had once been its adversary. The Type 93 torpedo, with its formidable design, became emblematic of the necessity to embrace change and innovation in a world where reliance on past successes could no longer guarantee future victories. As the technicians compiled their reports, word of the findings reached the upper echelons of the military. Strategies began to shift in real time, with discussions of integrating advanced technology and materials into future naval combatants. The era of battleships and their traditional armaments seemed to wane, ushering in a new approach to warfare that embraced speed, stealth, and precision. In this crucible of development, the memory of the Type 93 lingered, ensuring that lessons learned through its analysis would not fade into obscurity. The Navy was poised to redefine its identity, compelled by the echoes of past encounters that had illuminated paths yet to be forged. In this grand tapestry of history, the dismantling of the Type 93 torpedo served a dual purpose. It was a moment of reflection on past conflicts and a beacon guiding the future of naval technology. It was a reminder that the pursuit of superiority often lay in understanding and adapting to the strengths of one's adversaries. As the United States moved forward, the lessons gleaned from the Type 93 would echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the complexities of war, innovation, and the enduring drive to prevail against all odds. In the early months of 1945, as the tide of war turned with alarming rapidity, the United States found itself on the precipice of a technological revolution that would alter the very nature of naval warfare. The intelligence gathered from the Japanese Type 93 torpedo, retroactively dubbed the Long Lance, uncovered a disturbing truth. This weapon, which had been deployed with devastating efficacy in the Pacific theater, possessed performance metrics that eclipsed those of its Western counterparts. Fueled by an insatiable desire to gain any advantage, U.S. Navy technicians meticulously disassembled the torpedo in a laboratory nestled within Pearl Harbor, eager to decipher its secrets. The stakes were high. The specter of defeat loomed as the Allied forces engaged in fierce battles across the Pacific. The Type 93 was emblematic of a broader shift in military technology, forged in the crucible of desperation that marked Japan's early successes. With its innovative design, incorporating advanced materials and oxygen-based propulsion, the torpedo could travel greater distances with remarkable speed and accuracy. Each component, from the warhead to the guidance system, had been crafted with precision, reflecting Japan's commitment to an engineering philosophy that sought to maximize its limited resources. The technicians taking apart the weapon were not merely dismantling machinery, they were peeling back layers of ingenuity that threatened the balance of power on the high seas. As the team worked under the dim fluorescent lights, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. The lead engineer, a seasoned technician named Samuel Dawson, became an unwitting hero in that laboratory. A former sailor who had witnessed the harrowing aftermath of a torpedo strike firsthand, he felt an urgency to understand how the enemy had surpassed American capabilities. The Type 93's innovative design had been born from a combination of necessity and creativity, attributes Dawson knew all too well. For every hour spent scrutinizing the torpedo, there was a recognition that understanding this weapon could very well be the key to saving countless lives in the battles yet to come. The insights gleaned from the dissection sparked a growing anxiety among U.S. military strategists. Reports detailing the findings indicated that the Long Lance had not only superior range, but also a higher rate of speed than the American Mark 14 torpedo, which had frequently misfired or failed to detonate. Each failure of the Mark 14 was a blow to American confidence, and its inadequacies became a rallying cry for reformers within the Navy. Dismantling the Type 93 was more than a demonstration of technical prowess. It became a grim reminder that complacency could cost lives. The result was a whirlwind of innovation. The Navy initiated a program to overhaul their torpedo technology, spurred by the revelations from the Japanese weapon. The implications stretched beyond mere military hardware. They touched the very soul of the conflict. The Pacific War had become a relentless cycle of attrition, where each engagement was not simply a battle, but a litmus test of technological supremacy and human endurance. Dismantling the Type 93 ignited a fear that the Axis powers could innovate faster than the Allies. This fear consumed strategists who understood that the balance of warfare had shifted from sheer numbers to technological advantage. Each new weapon must be assessed not only for its immediate impact, but for its potential to reshape the battlefield. As the technicians uncovered the intricacies of the Type 93, they were acutely aware of the symbolism embedded in their task. It was a microcosm of the war itself, an intricate dance of destruction and ingenuity that mirrored humanity's broader struggle for dominance. The failures of American weapons became a stark contrast to the Japanese designs, illuminating the fragility of innovation in times of desperation. The Long Lance represented not merely a threat, but a challenge to the United States to confront its own shortcomings and emerge more formidable. In the midst of this environment, stories of American sailors lost to the Japanese torpedoes circulated among the ranks, echoing in the minds of the technicians. Each wrench turned against the steel body of the Type 93 was accompanied by thoughts of comrades who had perished in the chaos of war. The task at hand was imbued with a sense of reverence. The technicians saw themselves not just as dissecting a weapon, but as reclaiming the lives that had been taken by its deadly precision. These motivations drove them further, igniting a spark of urgency that was felt throughout the Navy. Amidst the technical analyses and long hours spent in the lab, a quiet revolution was brewing. Engineers and scientists began to collaborate, pooling their resources and expertise to innovate new designs. The Type 93 torpedo, once a tool of devastation, became the catalyst for a new wave of American ingenuity. In a race against time, the Navy's engineers embarked on a transformative path to develop a weapon system that could not only match but exceed the capabilities of the Long Lance. It was this spirit of perseverance, born from understanding the enemy's strengths, that would ultimately define the American response to the challenges of modern warfare. As the war dragged on, these developments would lead to a series of innovations that would shape not only naval engagements, but the very fabric of military strategy itself. The dismantling of the Type 93 was an integral piece of the puzzle, leading to a reawakening in American military aesthetics and identities. The decisions made in that laboratory during those tense months would resonate far beyond the confines of the Pacific, shaping the contours of post-war military doctrine and technological advancements for decades to come. Thus, the disassembly of a single torpedo became a symbol of hope and resilience, a moment from which the United States sought to reclaim its narrative in the global theater of war. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States found itself entrenched in an arms race that spurred technological advancements at an unprecedented pace. The dismantling of the Japanese Type 93 torpedo in late 1945 marked not only a pivotal moment in naval warfare, but also revealed the sheer ingenuity of Japanese engineering during the war. The weapon had been revered by Japanese naval strategists for its remarkable range and speed, traits that astounded U.S. Navy technicians who prided themselves on their own advancements in weaponry. This disassembly process was not merely an act of curiosity. It was a crucial step in understanding enemy capabilities and shaping future naval doctrine. As technicians meticulously extracted various components from the torpedo, they were struck by the complexity and precision of its design. The Type 93's unique oxygen-based propulsion system distinguished it from conventional torpedoes that relied on compressed air. This allowed it to maintain higher speeds over longer distances. Initially perceived as a relic of a defeated enemy, the torpedo instead emerged as a marvel of wartime innovation. The implications were profound, revealing not just the technological lag of the Allied forces, but also the urgent necessity to adapt and improve U.S. naval arsenals in the face of potential future threats. The U.S. Navy's understanding of the Type 93's capabilities shaped subsequent strategic evaluations. Engineers noted that the German forces had also developed advanced weaponry, including their own U-boat torpedoes. But the Type 93's performance surpassed all known Western counterparts in critical aspects. This unsettling discovery fueled a series of tests and analyses that would culminate in the development of more sophisticated naval munitions and countermeasures. In a landscape where maritime supremacy was tantamount to national security, the need to not only meet but exceed these benchmarks became an implicit mandate for naval planners. While U.S. military leaders grappled with the implications of this torpedo, a concurrent evolution in naval strategy began to unfold. The Cold War had yet to fully materialize, yet there was a nascent awareness among military strategists that the dynamic of global power was swiftly changing. The dissolution of the Axis powers had opened a Pandora's box of possibilities and threats, prompting a re-evaluation of past assumptions about maritime warfare. The revelations from the Type 93's performance pushed naval analysts to envision a future where surface engagements might be less favorable and undersea warfare could define the contours of future conflicts. Tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were beginning to simmer, and the lessons garnered from the Japanese weaponry would play a crucial role in shaping the U.S. Navy's technological trajectory. Emblematic of the struggle between two ideologies, the Type 93 became a symbol of both the potential and pitfalls of technological warfare. As the U.S. Navy sought to translate this knowledge into practical applications, its engineers and strategists simultaneously grappled with the ethical implications of unleashing more efficient instruments of destruction. In the years following the war, the U.S. initiated extensive research projects to analyze not only the Type 93, but also other captured technology from former adversaries. This period saw the establishment of laboratories dedicated to advanced weaponry, where former enemy designs were dissected and ultimately transformed into cutting-edge solutions. The drive to innovate became a rallying point for military and civilian engineers alike, who recognized that knowledge gleaned from adversarial designs could be the harbinger of new triumphs or new calamities. During this time, the symbolism of the Type 93 resonated within naval circles. It was both a warning and a guidepost. The weapon encapsulated the necessity of vigilance and adaptation in a post-war world characterized by uncertainty and the rapid evolution of technology. As engineers toiled away in labs across the country, they reflected not only on the engineering prowess of their predecessors, but also on the profound responsibility that came with such power. It was a moment of introspection for a nation that had once celebrated victory on a global scale, now faced with the daunting reality of maintaining that supremacy. The efforts to enhance U.S. naval capabilities paid dividends, as new designs emerged that incorporated elements inspired by the Type 93. These developments extended beyond torpedoes. They encompassed a broader understanding of undersea warfare dynamics, leading to the emergence of submarines capable of evading detection. This new breed of military vessel, cloaked and powerful, would come to play a critical role in the post-war narrative as the balance of power shifted beneath the waves. In the shadow of the Type 93, the U.S. Navy's evolution serves as a microcosm of broader geopolitical struggles, where the past gazes into an uncertain future. The dismantling of this singular Japanese torpedo crystallized a pivotal moment in the trajectory of modern warfare, a reminder that within the ashes of conflict lie the seeds of innovation that can redefine the very nature of global power. The task ahead was daunting, but from the depths of historical reflection and technological rediscovery, new strategies and weapons would emerge that would forever alter the course of naval history. The morning sun filtered through the thick clouds hanging over the U.S. Navy base in Pearl Harbor, casting a muted glow on the technicians and engineers gathered in the makeshift workshop. They were surrounded by the remnants of the Type 93 torpedo, a weapon that had been designed with precision and purpose, embodying the technological advancements of Japan's wartime industrial might. Historians and military analysts were beginning to recognize the Type 93 as a turning point in naval warfare. It was significantly superior to its Western counterparts, and its attributes indicated a sophistication that the Allies had underestimated. The technician's task was not merely one of disassembly, but of revelation. Each bolt removed from the torpedo's casing revealed insights into a strategic mind that had planned an offensive in ways that rattled the entire Pacific theater. As they carefully disassembled the torpedo, the technicians noted its streamlined design and the materials used, which were far more advanced than anything available to the American military at the time. The Type 93 was built with a sleek, hydrodynamic shape that minimized drag, allowing it to travel faster and farther than existing torpedoes. It was a culmination of a Japanese commitment to innovation, spurred by their early victories in the war and a fierce national pride that demanded excellence. The engineers marveled at the craftsmanship. It was a tangible reminder that technological prowess did not always align with the triumphs of war, but instead reflected an intense race against time and the enemy. This artifact was more than just a weapon. It represented a cultural ethos of determination and ingenuity, qualities that were becoming increasingly apparent in the face of the Pacific conflict. Amid calculations and discussions over the weapon's range and speed, the technicians began to uncover its secret. The Type 93 was equipped with a uniquely designed propulsion system that employed an oxygen-rich mixture, allowing it to maintain its explosive power over long distances. This was especially significant, as the Americans had struggled with torpedoes that often malfunctioned or failed to detonate altogether. The engineers could not help but feel a sense of urgency as they recorded their findings, recognizing that the impact of the Type 93's capabilities extended beyond technical specifications. They would need to adapt quickly if they were to maintain naval superiority. As weeks turned into months, the intelligence gathered from the Type 93 began to influence American military strategy. High-ranking officials in Washington, D.C., they were briefed on the findings and urged to divert resources to develop more effective anti-torpedo technologies and countermeasures. The early war victories of the Japanese Navy had been bolstered by their innovative use of torpedoes, And understanding this weapon became paramount. It was not merely a race against the clock, it was a battle for dominance on the high seas, where one miscalculation could turn the tide of war. The technicians, in their quiet workshop, were now linked to a much larger narrative, one where each decision could have far-reaching consequences. However, the discovery also revealed a painful truth that would shadow American military operations for much of the war. The Type 93's excellence was a stark reminder of the systemic issues plaguing the American naval program, where bureaucracy and complacency had long stifled innovation. The engineers wrestled with the implications of their findings, grappling with the notion that their own country's technological advancements lagged behind a determined foe. This realization spurred a sense of urgency within the Navy, a drive to not only catch up, but also to innovate in ways that would ensure survival in an escalating conflict. The aftermath of dismantling the Torpedo saw a surge in collaboration among scientists, engineers, and military personnel. The Navy began to foster a culture of innovation, calling upon the brightest minds across various sectors. Civilian engineers and academics were enlisted to develop new weaponry and countermeasures that would negate the advantages held by the Japanese. This infusion of fresh perspectives began to reshape the American military-industrial complex, laying the groundwork for post-war technological advancements. Yet amidst this frenzy of activity, the specter of the Type 93 loomed large. It was a reminder of the Japanese commitment to their war effort and a challenge to American ingenuity. As the war continued, the reputation of the Type 93 torpedo re-entered the public consciousness, becoming a symbol of the adversary's ingenuity. U.S. propaganda began to frame Japanese technology as formidable, urging the American public to recognize the skills of their enemies as both a cautionary tale and a challenge that must be met. In this narrative, the technicians at Pearl Harbor became the unsung heroes of their own story, as their painstaking work not only unearthed enemy capabilities, but also ignited a fire of innovation within the American military. This connective thread between analysis and action emphasized the pivotal role that technology would play in the outcome of the war. In the shadows of Pearl Harbor, strategists began to comprehend that the war was not merely a contest of arms, but a battle of minds, where creativity and technological advancements would ultimately dictate success. The Type 93 torpedo served as a catalyst for change, igniting a series of technological advancements that would soon become evident in battles across the Pacific. With each engagement, the legacy of the torpedo lived on, a reminder that innovation, whether born out of necessity or ambition, could alter the course of history. The technicians' insights would resonate far beyond their immediate work. They would be a cornerstone of American resilience, a reflection of the nation's determination to turn adversity into opportunity. Amidst the cacophony of World War II's Pacific theater, the discovery of the Japanese Type 93 torpedo in late 1943 brought an unexpected sense of urgency to the U.S. Navy's technical teams. The sleek, streamlined design of the torpedo, coupled with its innovative engineering, signaled a pivotal moment in naval warfare. As American technicians gathered in a nondescript facility on the West Coast, the symbolic weight of their task became evident. They were not merely dismantling an enemy weapon, they were charting the future of their own maritime capability. The Type 93, known colloquially as the Long Lance, became a focal point of scrutiny, a counterpoint to the weapons that had proven their worth in fierce engagements throughout the Pacific. As the technicians delved into the torpedo's design, they marveled at its robust construction and advanced features. It was a weapon born from both necessity and ingenuity, emerging from a nation that was often underestimated in its technological aspirations. The Type 93's remarkable range and speed, attributed to its unique fuel system, set it apart from contemporary Western counterparts. While the US Navy had relied on their own Mark 14 torpedo, which suffered from infamous reliability issues, the Long Lance demonstrated how a different approach to naval engineering could yield devastating results. The American technicians understood that their adversary had established a formidable standard, one that demanded urgent adaptations to their existing arsenal. In the days following the disassembly, the technicians meticulously documented each component. The insights they gleaned were not merely technical, but also strategic. They were learning from an enemy that had turned their maritime vulnerabilities into strengths. This sense of reverence for the craftsmanship of the enemy's weapon was palpable, revealing an essential truth. In war, proficiency in design could dictate the tides of battle. The technicians noted the Japanese reliance on advanced metallurgy and aerodynamics, elements that had allowed the Type 93 to excel in the conditions of the Pacific. In many ways, the juxtaposition of the American and Japanese approaches embodied the cultural philosophies underpinning their respective militaries. As the analysis progressed, the narrative shifted toward competition, not just between two military machines, but also between two national ideologies. The Japanese, driven by a sense of honor and the spiritual concept of Bushido, had imbued their torpedo program with a relentless pursuit of excellence. American technicians, adopting a more pragmatic and innovative approach, sought to rectify their own shortcomings through adaptability and resourcefulness. This dichotomy played out in the design revisions and improvements that would follow the analysis. The Long Lance was not merely a weapon, but a canvas upon which the two nations etched their contrasting values, ambitions, and philosophies of warfare. However, the implications of the findings extended beyond mere technical enhancements. The US Navy had been confronted with the reality that their past victories were not guaranteed. Each successful engagement had come at a cost, and the Type 93 served as a reminder of the evolving landscape of naval warfare. The technicians' work catalyzed a series of urgent meetings among military strategists who now faced the crucial task of reassessing their naval tactics in light of these advancements. The specter of surprise loomed large. American naval leaders realized that the very fabric of their operational success depended on a relentless commitment to innovation and learning from their adversaries' strengths. The revelations from the Type 93 also sparked a cultural shift within the Navy. Over the months that followed, the technical teams began to foster a spirit of collaboration. Engineers and combat veterans exchanged ideas, seeking to create a weapon system that could outstrip the Long Lance in both range and reliability. The urgency of war had transformed the often insular divisions within military ranks into a tapestry of cooperation, as each individual recognized their kinship in the fight against a common enemy. This unprecedented unity reflected the emerging belief that survival hinged not just on firepower, but on the synthesis of experience and ingenuity. As the US Navy continued its development of new torpedo designs, the ominous shadow of the Type 93 lingered. Each test of the newly engineered weapons was charged with the knowledge that they were aiming to surpass something that had already demonstrated its lethality against American forces. The stakes were high. Every failure echoed the ghosts of sailors lost to the unyielding nature of that Japanese ingenuity. Thus the workshops became places of fevered inspiration, where innovation was no longer an abstract concept, but a dire necessity. A sense of purpose infused the air, driving the technicians and engineers to push the boundaries of what was possible. In the spring of 1944, the culmination of this endeavor came to fruition with a new generation of US torpedoes that would soon be tested against both enemy forces and their own expectations. As these weapons were deployed in battle, the technicians, who had once dissected the Type 93, watched with a mixture of pride and trepidation. They were acutely aware that the sea was an unforgiving teacher, and every engagement would offer new lessons. The legacy of the Type 93 would be forever distinct, not solely as a weapon of war, but as a catalyst for change within American military doctrine and industry. In the grand narrative of the Pacific War, the dismantling of the Type 93 was not merely a moment of technical analysis. It represented a profound transformation in the way the US viewed and approached warfare. It underscored the importance of understanding the enemy not just through combat, but also through the lens of innovation and adaptation. As the tides of the war shifted, the memory of that torpedo echoed within the halls of strategy rooms and shipyards alike, a testament to the enduring legacy of an adversary's proficiency, fueling the relentless drive toward victory. As the technicians at Pearl Harbor meticulously disassembled the remnants of the Type 93 torpedo, they unearthed an intricate tapestry of design that reflected both a remarkable engineering prowess and a profound understanding of warfare. This was not merely a weapon, it was a manifestation of Japan's ambition and determination to dominate the Pacific. The Type 93, known colloquially as the Long Lance, was distinguished by its range and speed, both of which surpassed any contemporaneous designs used by the United States and its allies. Each component revealed the meticulous craftsmanship and advanced materials, including a unique oxide coating that reduced drag in water, enhancing its operational range to nearly 40 miles, a feat that left American engineers both astonished and deeply concerned. As the pieces were catalogued, the implications of this discovery began to crystallize in the minds of military strategists who understood that they were not just dealing with another weapon, but a symbol of the shifting tides of war. The Type 93 torpedo was designed to be launched from submarines and surface ships, yet its true innovation lay in its propulsion system. Utilizing a revolutionary oxygen-fueled engine, it could reach speeds of up to 49 knots, a significant advantage over the conventional torpedoes employed by the American fleet, which typically had speeds capped around 30 knots. This disparity in both speed and range prompted a re-evaluation of naval tactics. The U.S. Navy had long relied on the effectiveness of its destroyers and cruisers, with the expectation that naval engagements would occur within a predictable framework. However, the discovery of the Type 93 forced military leadership to confront an unsettling reality. They were competing against an enemy capable of striking from a distance previously thought impossible. As the analysis unfolded, the implications filtered through the command structure, igniting a sense of urgency. The American Naval Command recognized that the threat posed by the Japanese fleet was not merely a matter of numbers, but was fundamentally about technological superiority. The revelations about the Type 93 fed into broader discussions about the need for innovation within the U.S. naval forces. Meetings were convened to strategize responses, leading to an immediate push for the development of new torpedo designs and enhanced countermeasures to mitigate the advantages offered by the Long Lance. The urgency was palpable. The specter of being outmatched would not be tolerated in an era defined by the naval arms race. In the midst of this technical evaluation, the engineers uncovered yet another layer of complexity. The guidance system of the Type 93 was remarkably advanced for its time. Using a gyroscopic stabilizer, the torpedo maintained its trajectory with unprecedented accuracy, allowing it to track moving targets with a precision that made it a formidable adversary in any naval engagement. This aspect of the design forced American analysts to contend with the realities of asymmetric warfare. The U.S. military had historically prided itself on the strength of its fleet and the firepower of its ships, yet now they faced a technology that could outmaneuver and outpace them in the open ocean. It brought to the fore the unsettling realization that sheer numbers and brute force could not guarantee success against a more advanced adversary. Meanwhile, the broader implications of this technological gulf were not lost on the American public. News of the discoveries soon permeated through military channels and into the press, where it became a topic of debate and discussion. The media, eager to report on the military's state of readiness, began to highlight concerns about technological lag, which fueled anxieties about national security. The American psyche was already sensitive to losses in the Pacific, marked by the devastating attacks on Pearl Harbor and subsequent naval engagements. Reports of a superior Japanese weapon only intensified fears of an invincible enemy and served as a catalyst for mobilizing public support for further military investments. Yet, within the confines of the labs at Pearl Harbor, a quiet determination took root among the technicians and engineers. They understood that innovation was not merely a response to fear, but an opportunity to reclaim the narrative of technological supremacy. As they pieced together the elements of the Type 93, a spirit of resilience emerged, a commitment to grapple with the challenges posed by Japan's advanced military technology. The dissection of the Torpedo became symbolic of a larger battle, a race not just against an enemy on the battlefield, but against time itself, spurring them to push the boundaries of their ingenuity. As summer turned into autumn, the drive for innovation gained momentum. New designs were pitched, each more ambitious than the last, as engineers and naval officers looked to close the gap. The urgency was palpable, and the stakes higher than ever. The U.S. Navy began to explore a comprehensive overhaul of its torpedo technology, focusing on improvements in speed, range, and guidance systems. This push for advancement coincided with the relentless pace of the war itself, where victories and losses were often dictated by technological superiority. The lessons learned from the Type 93 were woven into the fabric of new designs, laying the groundwork for future innovations that would shape the naval battles of the Pacific theater. In the months that followed, the gap in technology began to narrow, but the specter of the long lance continued to haunt American naval strategists. Each deployment of the upgraded U.S. torpedoes served as a reminder of the arms race that had taken on a life of its own. The engineers worked tirelessly, driven not only by the desire to outmatch their adversaries, but also by the collective memory of the sacrifices made by their fellow countrymen. The Type 93 torpedo stood as a pivotal chapter in the narrative of the war in the Pacific, representing both a challenge and a call to action for the United States. The quest for technological advancement, sparked by the disassembly of a single weapon, ultimately became a testament to the resilience and adaptability of American ingenuity in the face of adversity. In the wake of the Pacific War, the strategic landscape had irrevocably shifted. The Japanese Type 93 torpedo, known colloquially as the Long Lance, had proven to be a formidable weapon, possessing a range and speed that eclipsed its Western counterparts. As U.S. Navy technicians meticulously dismantled one of these torpedoes in the autumn of 1945, the implications of their discovery were profound, resonating far beyond the confines of the laboratory. The decision to thoroughly examine the torpedo stemmed from the urgent need to understand a weapon that had already inflicted significant losses on Allied vessels, including the sinking of the USS Indianapolis earlier that year. The United States, having emerged victorious in the war, was nonetheless faced with a new adversary, the specter of Cold War tensions, making the insights derived from the Type 93 all the more critical. Inside the dimly lit workshop, the technicians worked with a mix of awe and trepidation. They noted not only the engineering prowess exhibited in the torpedo's design, but also the sheer craftsmanship that belied its deadly function. Each component was a testament to Japanese ingenuity, reflecting an industrial capacity that had, until then, been underestimated by many in the West. The torpedo's unique propulsion system, utilizing a highly efficient oxygen-rich fuel mixture, was unlike anything available to American military engineers. As the technicians sketched diagrams and took meticulous notes, they began to recognize that this weapon was not merely a relic of wartime, but a harbinger of future naval engagements. The implications of their findings were far-reaching. Analysts in the Navy recognized that the Type 93's capabilities might serve as a blueprint for a new generation of weaponry. In the following months, as American military strategists convened to discuss naval doctrine, the Torpedo's performance became a focal point. It represented not just a technical challenge, but also a cautionary tale. The United States had invested heavily in various technologies during the war, yet here was an example of how underestimating an opponent could lead to critical vulnerabilities. The very act of dismantling the Torpedo became symbolic of a naval philosophy that would drive future developments, a philosophy anchored in the lessons gleaned from both victory and defeat. Meanwhile, the geopolitical landscape continued to evolve, with the Soviet Union emerging as a global superpower and a stark ideological rival. The intelligence gleaned from the Type 93 not only informed U.S. military strategies, but also played a role in shaping diplomatic relations in the nascent Cold War context. The fear of an arms race loomed large, and the need for innovation intensified. The Torpedo's advanced capabilities underscored the urgency for the United States to develop weapon systems that could counter any future threats. In this light, the Type 93 became a symbol of the broader struggle for supremacy on the high seas, pushing American military planners to invest in research and development programs that prioritize speed, stealth, and striking distance. As the years rolled on, the legacy of the Type 93 extended beyond the confines of military applications. The technological breakthroughs inspired by its design influenced commercial and scientific sectors as well. Engineers and designers began to look beyond traditional paradigms, incorporating lessons learned from this Japanese invention into civilian maritime technology. The very act of dismantling the Torpedo thus catalyzed a wave of innovation that reached far beyond the military sphere, marking a transition towards peacetime application of wartime technologies. The duality of its existence, as both a tool of destruction and a catalyst for advancement, illustrated the complexities of human ingenuity in times of conflict. On a symbolic level, the Type 93 also represented the themes of resilience and adaptation that characterized the post-war world. In a manner akin to the phoenix rising from the ashes, the remnants of a weapon designed for warfare became a springboard for peaceable pursuits. As former adversaries transitioned to cooperative endeavors, the story of the Type 93 served as a reminder of the dark consequences of conflict, but also of the potential for reconciliation and progress. The U.S. Navy's focus on its engineering marvel highlighted how nations could learn from one another, pushing the envelope of what was possible in maritime technology. As the 1950s dawned, U.S. naval policy increasingly mirrored the lessons derived from the Type 93. The introduction of new torpedo designs, such as the Mk-48, reflected an understanding of the importance of range and speed, characteristics that had defined the Japanese weapon. Moreover, these advancements were not merely incremental, they represented a paradigm shift in naval warfare where adaptability and strategic foresight became paramount. The Type 93 thus lived on in the evolving narrative of naval history, a potent reminder that even in victory, vigilance and innovation were necessary to maintain superiority. The technical studies and analyses conducted in the wake of the war ultimately fostered a spirit of competition that transcended national boundaries. Engineers, scientists, and military officers, driven by the lessons of the Type 93, began to engage in a collaborative spirit that would shape the future of naval technology. This era marked the beginning of an arms race that, while fraught with tension, also sparked creativity and innovation across nations. In a world forever altered by the cataclysm of war, the Type 93 emerged not merely as a relic of conflict, but as a pivotal player in the ongoing story of human ingenuity and the quest for security on the high seas. The dismantling of the Type 93 torpedo by U.S. Navy technicians serves as a poignant reminder of the relentless pursuit of innovation in warfare and the unpredictable nature of technological advancement. As the technicians examined the formidable weapon, they recognized not only the ingenuity of their adversaries, but also the profound implications of such discoveries for their own strategies and defense capabilities. This moment in history invites us to reflect on the broader lessons of conflict and competition, emphasizing that every technological leap carries with it a responsibility to understand and respect the forces that shape it. The torpedo's superior design illuminated the stark reality of an arms race that transcended mere military might. It underscored the necessity for vigilance, adaptability, and ethical considerations in the face of evolving threats. As we navigate our contemporary landscape, marked by rapid technological change, it is crucial to remember the past, not just as a series of events, but as a continuum that informs our present and future. In honoring the legacy of those who engaged with these complexities, we reaffirm our commitment to responsible stewardship of innovation, ensuring that history's lessons guide us in our ongoing quest for peace and security.